Reflection, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear me loud and clear today. Life is not fair, and people will always test you. Reflection. But there's one thing you can do just once that changes the way the world sees you, the way the world respects you, and the way the world treats you. It's simple. It's profound. Reflection. And it's completely within your control. It's about setting your standard. You see, most people walk through life trying to please everyone, flexion, bending over backward to fit into expectations that are not even theirs. And that's why they get overlooked. That's why they get stepped on. That's why people take liberties with their time, reflection, their energy, their respect. But when you decide just once to stand firm, to draw a line, to say, this is me, this is my life, this is my energy, everything changes. Flexion, let me break this down for you. Here are the key steps to do this. Flexion, to change the way people treat you forever. You have to understand something fundamental about life. If you don't value yourself, no one else will. Too many people wake up every day, reflection, hoping someone else will recognize their worth, someone else will see their potential, someone else will validate their existence. And that's a mistake. Respect, recognition, reflection, and the way people treat you don't come from luck. They come from the energy you project, the standards you set, and the clarity you have about who you are. You have to decide right now, reflection, in this moment, that you are worthy, not someday, not when things get easier, not when the world finally gives you permission. You are worthy now. Say it. Believe it. Feel it in your bones. Flexion. Carry it in every step you take, every word you speak, every choice you make. When you truly know your worth, when you refuse to compromise it for anyone, the world begins to notice. Reflection. People start treating you differently because your energy changes. You move differently. You walk taller. You speak stronger. Reflection. You don't argue for respect. You command it simply by showing up fully aware of your own value. And here's the truth. The moment you make that decision for yourself, something shifts. Reflection. You no longer bend to the whims of others. You no longer shrink to make people comfortable. You no longer settle for scraps when you deserve the whole table. When you decide your worth, reflection, and refuse to negotiate it, you send a signal that cannot be ignored. People feel it. They sense it. And suddenly everything in your life, your relationships, your work, reflection, your opportunities starts to align with that standard. That's power. That's influence. That's the first step to being treated differently. Not because you demanded it, reflection, not because you begged for it, but because you finally, unapologetically decided to honor yourself. You have to stop saying yes to everything. This is where most people get trapped, reflection, where they give away their time, their energy, their peace, and wonder why life keeps taking from them without giving back. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, flexion, that drains you or that compromises your standards, you are teaching people how to treat you. You are showing them that your boundaries are negotiable, that your energy is cheap, reflection, that your time is not valuable. And the world, believe me, will take that as an open invitation to push, to test, to exploit. Saying no is not just a word, it's a weapon of self-respect, reflection. When you say no, you're telling the world, I see my value, I protect my energy, and I refuse to be diminished. And the beautiful thing is, once you start saying no even once, people notice. Reflection, they realize that you are not a doormat, that your presence has weight, and that your time is not theirs to command. And it's not about being rude, reflection. It's not about being harsh. It's about being firm, about being intentional, about understanding that every yes has a cost, flexion. And that cost is too high when it comes at the expense of your dignity, your focus, and your life. You can't grow, you can't rise, flexion. You can't command respect if you are constantly bending to the expectations and demands of everyone else. Say no and watch as the energy around you shifts. Reflection. People start treating you differently. They start considering you. They start respecting the boundaries you've drawn, and most importantly, you start respecting yourself. Reflection. And once you respect yourself, the world has no choice but to meet you there. Saying no is not just an act, it's a declaration. It's a statement that your life, your time, your energy, reflection, and your peace are not negotiable. Reflection. It's the first step to creating a life where people treat you the way you deserve to be treated. Holding people accountable is not optional if you want to be treated differently. Reflection. Far too many people let others slide, shrug off disrespect, and tolerate behavior that chips away at their self-worth. And when you do that, you send the message loud and clear. Reflection. It's okay to cross me. It's okay to take liberties with me. It's okay to test me. Life does not reward silence and inaction. It rewards those who stand up, those who set the standard. Reflection, those who refuse to be walked over. Reflection, holding people accountable, doesn't mean you attack them or make enemies. It means you define what is acceptable and refuse to bend for anyone who violates it. Reflection, it means you speak your truth with courage and you expect others to meet you there. When someone disrespects you, when someone takes advantage of your kindness, when someone oversteps the line, flexion, you call it out. You do it firmly, confidently, and without hesitation. And the first time you do this, you'll notice something remarkable. People begin to rethink their approach. Flexion, they realize that you are not someone to push around. They realize that you have boundaries that are not just words, but lines that will not be crossed. Reflection, and here's the truth. Holding people accountable is not about confrontation. It's about self-respect. It's about setting the precedent that you are a person of value, reflection, a person of principles, and a person who refuses to be undermined. When you hold others accountable, you create an environment where respect becomes the default. Flexion, people will think twice before testing you again because they now understand that your energy, your dignity, and your presence are not negotiable. Reflection, accountability is powerful because it rewires the way people interact with you. They start treating you differently, not because they fear you, flexion, but because they understand that you refuse to settle for anything less than respect. And when you operate from that place, your life shifts. The opportunities, the relationships, reflection, the way people respond to you, they all start aligning with the standard you've set. Holding people accountable is the foundation of being treated the way you deserve. And once you do it, reflection, there's no turning back. Walking away from toxicity is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate demonstration of strength and self-respect. Too many people stay in situations, relationships, flexion, and environments that drain them, diminish them, and steal their energy, thinking they have no choice or that enduring it somehow proves character. But the truth is, reflection, enduring toxicity doesn't prove strength. It proves that you have allowed your life, your peace, and your purpose to be compromised by others. You have to understand this. Reflection, your energy is sacred, your time is limited, and your dignity is priceless. When you choose to remove yourself from toxic people, toxic conversations, and toxic situations, flexion, you are making a statement louder than words ever could. You are saying, I will not be manipulated, I will not be diminished, I will not tolerate disrespect. Walking away is not about rage, reflection, bitterness, or retaliation. It's about clarity, decisiveness, and self-preservation. And here's what happens when you do it. The people around you start noticing. Flexion. They start realizing that you cannot be trifled with. They start understanding that your presence is not a gift to be taken for granted, but a force to be respected. Flexion. Walking away resets the balance of power. It teaches the world that your life is yours to govern, and that anyone who wants to be part of it must meet your standards. Reflection. And the most profound part is how it transforms you internally. You reclaim your focus, your peace, and your purpose. Reflection. You stop wasting energy trying to convince people to treat you right and start living a life that naturally attracts respect, alignment, and integrity. Reflection. Walking away from toxicity is not an easy choice. It is a courageous choice. But it is also one of the most transformative choices you will ever make. Once you do it, reflection, the way people treat you shifts immediately. They sense the change in your energy, they recognize your boundaries, reflection, and they adjust their behavior because they understand that you are no longer available for disrespect or compromise. Walking away is the ultimate act of self-respect, reflection, and it sets the standard for how the world will treat you from that moment forward. Setting boundaries and defending them is one of the most powerful, reflection, transformative acts you can ever take in your life. Too many people drift through life letting others dictate their time, their energy, their emotions, and even their self-respect. And the result, flexion, they are overlooked, undervalued, and taken for granted. Boundaries are not just rules, they are declarations. They are statements of who you are, what you stand for, reflection, and what you will and will not accept in your life. When you set a boundary, you are drawing a line in the sand that says, this is how I allow people to treat me. And if you cross it, reflection, there will be consequences. Most people never do this because they fear confrontation, they fear rejection, or they fear losing relationships. But the truth is, flexion, not setting boundaries is far more dangerous than setting them. When you fail to define what is acceptable, you leave yourself vulnerable to exploitation, disrespect, and endless compromise. Reflection. Setting boundaries is an act of courage. It takes clarity, it takes confidence, and it takes a commitment to your own value. But here's the powerful part. Once you set your boundaries, flexion, the world starts to take you seriously. People immediately recognize that you are not negotiable, that your time is not cheap, that your energy is sacred. Reflection, defending those boundaries is just as important as setting them. You cannot set a line and then allow it to be crossed without consequence. Every time someone tests you, reflection, every time someone pushes, you have to respond firmly, calmly, without hesitation. You are not being aggressive, you are being consistent. You are reinforcing the standard you have set, reflection. And when you consistently enforce your boundaries, people learn to respect them. They start treating you differently because they understand that you are serious about your life, your energy, reflection, and your dignity. Boundaries create order, boundaries create respect, and boundaries create an environment where you can thrive without being dragged down by the chaos of others. Reflection. When you set them and defend them without apology, you send a message that cannot be ignored. You are in control. And the way the world treats you will reflect that control. Reflection, it is one of the simplest yet most profound ways to change the way people see value, reflection, and honor you in your life. Speaking with authority and clarity is one of the most underestimated tools in commanding respect and changing the way people treat you. Reflection. Too many people allow their voice to be timid, their words to be soft, and their presence to be overlooked. They mumble, they apologize unnecessarily. Reflection. They dilute their message because they are afraid of confrontation or judgment. And because of that, people take them for granted. But here's the truth. Reflection. The way you speak is the way the world perceives you. Confidence is not just about what you do. It's about how you carry yourself, how you project your energy, and how you make your words land. Reflection. When you speak clearly, with purpose, and with authority, people cannot ignore you. They sit up, they listen, they feel the weight of your presence. You don't have to yell. Reflection. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to dominate, but you must project certainty. Every word must have intention. Every statement must reflect conviction. When you master this reflection, even for the first time, people begin to treat you differently. They sense that you are someone who knows your value, someone who won't be trifled with. Reflection, someone who commands attention simply by speaking your truth. Speaking with authority is more than just vocal tone. It is the alignment of mind, body, and soul. Your posture, your eye contact, reflection, your pacing, your pauses, and even your silence all communicate power and clarity. People respond to energy more than words, and when your words are backed by confidence and clarity, reflection, they carry an undeniable force. This is how leaders are born, how influence is commanded, and how respect is earned. The moment you speak with authority and clarity, reflection, you no longer ask to be taken seriously. You demand it without a word of complaint, without a hint of apology. And the world has no choice but to meet you there. Reflection, people start listening differently. People start responding differently. People start treating you differently. Not because they fear you, not because they are intimidated, reflection, but because they recognize the power of someone who knows themselves, speaks with purpose, and refuses to be silenced. Speaking with authority and clarity transforms how people perceive you. Reflection, that transformation begins with a single decision. Reflection, to own your voice and never shrink from it again. Acting like you belong anywhere you go is one of the most powerful shifts you can make in your life. Too many people walk into rooms, reflection, into situations, into conversations, shrinking themselves, apologizing for their presence, hoping they won't be noticed. And because of that, they are overlooked, underestimated, reflection, and undervalued. But let me tell you something, confidence is magnetic. The way you carry yourself, the way you hold your head, the way you step into a space with purpose, reflection, communicates more than words ever could. When you act like you belong, people notice it immediately. They sense your presence, they recognize your energy, reflection, and they adjust their behavior toward you. This is not arrogance, this is not entitlement, this is self-respect in its purest form. You must walk into every space, every room, every situation, reflection, with the understanding that you have as much right to be there as anyone else, and that your presence is valuable. Make eye contact, stand tall, speak clearly, reflection, and refuse to shrink to make others comfortable. When you do this consistently, something remarkable happens. People begin to treat you differently. They see you as someone confident, reflection, someone in control, someone who commands attention without demanding it. Acting like you belong is a signal that you refuse to be marginalized, that you refuse to be dismissed, reflection, and that you refuse to allow anyone else to dictate your worth. And here's the thing, confidence is not just internal, it's contagious. When you project belonging, reflection, you influence the energy of everyone around you. People respond to it. Doors open. Conversations change. Opportunities appear. Your presence begins to shape the way the world interacts with you. Reflection, not because you are trying to force it, but because you are standing firmly in your own power. Acting like you belong anywhere you go is not about ego. It's about authority, reflection, and it's about self-possession. And it's about teaching the world that your space, your voice, and your energy are not up for negotiation. Once you fully embrace this reflection, Once you step into every environment with the belief that you belong, the way people treat you changes immediately. They recognize strength, they recognize confidence, reflection, and they recognize someone who refuses to be invisible. And when that happens, respect follows naturally, effortlessly, reflection, and undeniably. Valuing yourself more than approval is one of the most liberating and powerful choices you can ever make in life. Flexion. Too many people live their entire lives chasing the opinions of others, bending, compromising, and contorting themselves just to gain acceptance, to earn approval, or to avoid conflict. They trade their peace, their integrity, and their power for a fleeting sense of validation. And the result, they are exhausted, frustrated, reflection, and endlessly disappointed because no matter how much they try, approval is never guaranteed. Here's the truth: people will always have opinions, and most of the time, reflection. Those opinions are not about you. They're about their own fears, insecurities, and limitations. When you start valuing yourself more than approval, something transformative happens. Reflection. You stop seeking permission to exist. You stop trying to fit into molds that were never meant for you. You stop negotiating your worth for the comfort of others. And when you do this, flexion, the world begins to respond differently. People sense the shift in energy. They realize that you are no longer swayed by their judgment, that you are no longer available for manipulation, reflection, and that your self-respect is non-negotiable. Approval is fleeting, but respect is earned. And respect comes when you stop bending, stop apologizing unnecessarily, flexion, and stop measuring your life by what others think. When you place your own opinion of yourself above everyone else's, you step into a new level of power, confidence, and clarity. Flexion. Decisions become easier, boundaries become stronger, and interactions become more meaningful because they are based on mutual respect, not on validation seeking or approval. Reflection. Valuing yourself more than approval does not make you arrogant. It makes you grounded. It makes you aware of your worth. It makes you untouchable in the way you operate. Reflection. And when you live like this consistently, the way people treat you shifts immediately. They recognize someone who is self-reliant, self-assured, reflection, and fully committed to honoring their own value above all else. This is the ultimate secret to commanding respect, influencing others, and creating a life where you are seen, heard, reflection, and valued exactly as you deserve. So now listen carefully, because this is where it all comes together. You have the power to change how the world treats you, starting today, right here. Reflection, right now. It doesn't require luck. It doesn't require someone else's permission. And it doesn't require you to be anyone other than who you truly are. Reflection. It starts with you deciding your worth. It starts with protecting your time, your energy, and your peace. It starts with setting boundaries, holding people accountable. Reflection, walking away from what diminishes you and speaking your truth with clarity and authority. Flexion. It starts with walking into every room with the confidence that you belong and valuing yourself more than the fleeting approval of others. Do this once and watch everything change. Flexion. The world will see you differently, your relationships will shift, and your opportunities will expand. But here's the real truth: the respect, the influence, flexion, the energy you command. They don't come from the world. They come from the decision you make inside yourself, the courage you summon, and the standard you refuse to compromise. So stand up, reflection, speak up, protect yourself, own your power, and watch as the world finally catches up to the greatness you've always carried inside. You are worthy, you are capable, flexion, and you are untouchable when you decide to honor yourself fully. Make that choice right now. And from this moment forward, nothing and no one will ever treat you the same way again.